The six-pack. It's pretty much the universal symbol of being in great shape, right? But for so many of us, the journey to get one is just, well, it's frustrating. It's paved with a ton of exercises that just don't seem to work. So let's just forget everything you think you know. Today, we are breaking down a much smarter system, one that actually gets results.
So let's start with the big question, the one we've all screamed internally at some point. You do hundreds, maybe even thousands of crunches. You feel the burn, you're putting in the work, but you look in the mirror and nothing. If that sounds familiar, I promise you are not alone. And more importantly, it's not your fault. The entire strategy is just flawed right from the start.
And this quote just gets right to the point, doesn't it? It's pretty bold, basically telling us to throw out the entire old school playbook. See, it's not about doing more work. It's about doing the right kind of work. The goal isn't to train harder, it's to train a whole lot smarter. And here it is. This is the big idea, the powerful shift in thinking that changes everything. You already have abs. We all do. The challenge isn't building them from scratch. The real secret, the absolute game changer, is simply removing the layer of body fat that's covering them up. Once you get that, the whole picture starts to make sense.
So that brings us to our foundation. If revealing our abs is the actual goal, then we have to start where fat loss really happens. And spoiler alert, it's not in the gym. Let's dig into the true foundation of what it takes to get a lean midsection.
Just take a look at this number for a second. 80%. What on earth could possibly be responsible for 80% of your results? I'll tell you. It's not some magic exercise, it's not a secret supplement, it's something way more fundamental. And there you have it. Fat loss expert Nate Miyake lays it out perfectly clear. Your diet is the engine here. 80% of your fat loss results come directly from what you put in your mouth. You know what this means? It means you literally cannot out-train a bad diet. It's without a doubt the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. And you know what? The keys here are actually pretty simple. We're not talking about some insane restrictive diet. It's really about the basics: drinking enough water, cutting out the heavily processed junk food, and focusing on foods that actually make you feel full, like protein and veggies. The whole point is to find an approach you can actually stick with, not some temporary crash diet. Okay, so our nutritional foundation is set. That's the big one. Now we can talk about what to do in the gym. We can start building the pillars that sit on top of that foundation. And just like with nutrition, the name of the game is training smarter, not just thrashing yourself harder. This chart just perfectly illustrates that mindset shift. The myth, the old way of thinking, is that you can burn off fat with tons of cardio, or you can spot reduce your stomach with endless crunches. The truth? Your time is way better spent building overall muscle with strength training, which actually revs up your metabolism. And for your core, the goal is to train it for its real job, stabilizing your entire body. And that leads us to this really cool concept called anti-movement. Just picture a sprinter exploding out of the blocks. Their core is firing like crazy, but their torso isn't crunching or twisting all over the place. No way, it is locked in solid. Your core's number one job is to protect your spine by resisting movement, not creating it. Training that one function is the key to building real, functional strength. So how do you actually train for that? Well, it's way simpler than it sounds. We're talking about exercises like planks, where you're just resisting gravity, or loaded carries, like a farmer's walk, where your core is working overtime to keep you from tipping over. And maybe most important of all, it's about learning to brace your core correctly during those big lifts like squats and deadlifts. That's where you build a core of steel. Now, what if you want an extra fat loss boost without completely burning yourself out? Well, think about all the activity you do outside of the gym. It's called NEPA, or non-exercise physical activity, and really, it can be as simple as taking a daily walk. It's a fantastic, low-stress way to burn some extra calories that won't send your hunger through the roof like a crazy cardio session can. All right, so we've covered nutrition and smart training, but what about the rest of your week? The hours you spend outside the kitchen and the gym are just as crucial. In fact, for a lot of people, this is the missing link. So let's talk about how to win those other hours. I mean, this chart really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? There are 168 hours in a week. You might spend, 3 or 4% of that time in the gym? But look at the rest. A massive chunk is sleep, and an even bigger chunk is just life. Work, family, everything else. What you do in that other 97% of the week has a huge impact on your results. So, the lifestyle plan really boils down to 3 key steps.
First, you've got to manage your stress because that lowers cortisol, the hormone that tells your body to store fat. Second, you have to master your sleep. Not getting enough sleep throws your hunger hormones completely out of whack. And third, it's all about building solid routines so that eventually making these good choices just becomes automatic. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We have the foundation, we have the pillars, and we have the lifestyle factors that hold the whole thing up. So now let's put it all together into one simple, really powerful framework. And this pyramid just sums up the entire system beautifully. Look at the base. The absolute foundation that makes up 80% of your results is nutrition. If that crumbles, the whole pyramid falls apart. Then, in the middle, you have your smart training to build muscle and a stable core. And right at the very top, you've got your lifestyle habits, sleep and stress management that support everything underneath them. So if you take just one thing away from all this, please let it be this. Forget about shortcuts. This isn't about some magic exercise or a 30-day shred challenge. It's about building a smart, integrated, and this is the most important word, a sustainable system that actually fits into your real life. And that kind of leaves us with one final question to think about. We're all conditioned to look for the fastest, easiest way, right? The shortcut. But what if we've been asking the wrong question this whole time? What if instead of asking for a shortcut, we started looking for a system we could actually stick with for the long haul? That simple change in focus, that might just be the most powerful shortcut of all.